Good morning, welcome to the Daily Tanya. Today is Monday, the 15th day of Menachem Av. 15th day of Av seems like a regular day, but the Mishnah tells us that this is in fact one of the greatest holidays that the Jewish people had. Now, we don't celebrate it much. All we know is that during the prayer, we don't say Tachanun, the parts we skip during the holidays. But there is much depth into this day. In Chassidus, it is explained a lot about the 15th day of Av. It says this is the time when the moon is full, in the 15th day of the month of Av. And then we have a full moon outside. The moon represents the strength of the Jewish people. But this is true every month. But in this month, it is after the descent of the 9th day of Av, the destruction. We know every descent is for the purpose of the ascent, the purpose of the revelation of bringing out the good. In the destruction itself, there's a purpose, there's good hidden, and on the 15th day of Av, spiritually, this is when it is revealed. It is connected with many events that happened on this day, the 15th day of Av. So it is a day of revealing the essence, revealing the good. Somehow you're going to see it ties in a little bit with what we're going to learn today in the Tanya. We begin today the 5th letter 5 in the Igeret Hakodesh. It is another letter that Alter Rebbe talks about the special the benefit, what we achieve through giving tzedakah. And again, the Alter Rebbe goes into the depth of mystical and Kabbalistic concepts and leading us to understanding the deeper meaning of tzedakah. And so let's begin with tzedakah. Gedele tzedakah shemekareves es hageula, tzedakah brings Mashiach closer. So the Alter Rebbe begins this letter with the story of King David. It says King David made himself a name. Let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says, and we'll explain as we go along. So the Alter Rebbe begins, Vayas David Shem, and David made a name. What does it mean King David made himself a name? There's different commentaries explain that he was able to eliminate many of his enemies. There's another explanation that says that he was even allowing the enemies to be buried, and so this made himself a name that people realized who King David is. The Zohar, however, takes it a whole different direction, and in the Holy Zohar it talks about King David made God's name. Now, what does that mean? Made God's name. And the Zohar says, the verse continues about King David, that he executed justice and tzedakah. And with doing tzedakah, he made God's name. What does it mean, making God's name? We spoke in the past about the name of God, the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. This is the root, this is the source of the creation of the entire everything. The whole entire creation comes from these 4 letters, name of Hashem. And we said the Yud represents the Chochma, the initial revelation. The Hey is the Bina, the expansion, like you have in the human being. When you have the intellect, you have the Chochma represents the spark, the receiving of the idea. Bina is the development and the expansion and the processing of the idea, and so on. So the same thing is also in creation. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe explains. Pirush b'Zohar HaKodesh, the Holy Zohar relates the above phrase that King David made himself a name. He relates it to the other verse. The verse, Mishum shenema vayi David oise mishpat u'tzedakah l'chol am yichulu. And David executed justice and tzedakah with all his people. So the name that he thereby made is thus the divine name. And in the words of the Zohar, it says, Bocho Rab Shimon ve'Omar, Man ovid shmo kadisha b'chol yoyma man de yoiv tzedakah lemiskene. Rabbi Shimon wept and said, who makes the holy name every day? He who gives charity unto the poor. So this we need to understand. Number one, what does it mean? How can we possibly say that the holy name is made? And number two, how is a name made? Through the giving charity. So this, again, this is going to be a long letter. We're going to learn it throughout this week, God willing. And we'll begin with one concept, one topic that Alter Rebbe will explain here, and that is the creation of the world to come versus the creation of this world with which letters. So it says like this. This may be understood in the light of the comments of our sages of blessed memory on the verse, for by the divine name that is composed of the letter Yud and Hey, God is the strength of the worlds. So these letters, the Yud and the Hey, is the source of the creation of the worlds, meaning this physical world and the spiritual world, the world to come. So it says, Behei nivra olam hazeh, beyud nivra olam haba. So the sages comment on this verse that this world was created by the letter Hey, the letter Hey of the divine name, the Yud Kei, and the world to come was created by the letter Yud, the letter Yud of the divine name, the Yud and the Hey. And the Alter Rebbe is going to explain, in what respect is this world connected with the letter Hey and the world to come with the letter Yud? So the Alter Rebbe answers this question by first explaining the concept of the world to come and Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. The Alter Rebbe says that the Garden of Eden, what is the heaven, Garden of Eden? This is a level, a spiritual level where the souls are able to connect and appreciate and grasping, understanding, and derive pleasure from appreciating godliness. Obviously, to a certain extent, the level that they are able to achieve. Says the Alter Rebbe, Pirush HaTainug, shemisangim neshomes hatzadikim, v'nani meziv hashchina meir began Eden elyon v'tachton. This means that the delight which the souls of the righteous experience as they enjoy the splendor of the Shekhinah which radiates in the upper and lower gardens of Eden. There's different levels in Garden of Eden, different levels of godly revelations. This consists of their pleasure in their apprehension and conception, for they conceive with the faculty of Chochma, they know with the faculty of Das, and understand with the faculty of Bina, the three intellectual attributes. And they understand some kind of grasping of apprehension of godliness, of the godly light. Some degree of apprehension of the light and vitality, which diffuses there in a revealed manner from the blessed Ein Sof unto their soul and their spirit of understanding. So that they each and every one can understand and attain some perception according to his level and his deeds. What does it mean, the level and the deeds? there is the souls. The souls originate from one place. They all come from Atzilus, the world of godly emanation. However, coming down to this world, the souls go through different filtering processes, so to speak. And some souls are more spiritually aware, spiritually sensitive. They have less filtering, if you will. Other souls go down and become more coarse, and they have less sensitivity to spirituality. That is the level. That is the level. Each one has their own different level. For whatever reason, God created us this way, because each one has their own mission in life to accomplish. Now, this is also according to the deeds of the people. Because the deeds, the mitzvahs that we do, when we do a mitzvah, when we perform a mitzvah, number one, the mitzvah, as we explained a couple of days ago, the mitzvahs, what we do, they achieve great, in something beyond anything we can imagine, because this is fulfilling God's will itself. So we do a physical mitzvah in this physical world, it creates tremendous effects in the spiritual worlds. However, in addition to that, it is also the mitzvahs that we do prepare, so to speak, a garment for our soul, so that the soul should be able to achieve and comprehend the godly revelation after it leaves the body. The soul needs garments to be able to receive this godly light, and that is done through the action, through the mitzvahs, the actions of mitzvahs that we do. So this is what it says in Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden, the neshamas, each one can achieve levels of godliness according to the level and according to the action. That is why in the Zohar, the Holy Zohar, the world to come is referred to as Bina, which is understanding. Why? For that world is permeated by the light of the sphere of Bina, which enables souls to apprehend and understand godliness. Now this flow issues from the plane of supernal Chochma, which is the source of the conception and apprehension known as Bina. Now the Chochma is the primordial stage of the intellect, before apprehension and understanding become manifest. Rather, Chochma is this stage. At this stage, the Chochma is still in a stage of obscurity and concealment. Just like an idea. Sometimes you have an idea coming into your head, but it is concealed. You can't understand what it is. It's beyond. You need time. A little bit of it now becomes developed in the mind, and you process it. Except for some minuscule measure that here and there flows forth and issues from it to the faculty of Bina, making it possible for a soul to understand and apprehend a concept which is intrinsically concealed. So that's the idea of Gan Eden. There in the Eden there is the level of Chochma shines a little bit, and the neshamas are able to comprehend something from it. In the Holy Zohar, therefore, Chochma is referred to as a dat in the palace. A dat in the palace. This is the dat of the idea in the great palace, which is the place where you process the idea. And slowly but surely that the palace fills up with this understanding. But this is just a dat. And that is why, says the Alter Rebbe, this is also indicated in the shape, the way the letter Yud looks like it's a dat. Letter Yud is a dat with a thorn on the top and a thorn at the bottom. So that is the essential level that cannot be described. It's a dot. The thorn on the top represents something which is connected to something above everything. Thorn on the bottom represents bringing down this godly revelation. Indeed, this is the shape of the Yud of the four-letter name of God. Chochma is also referred to as Eden, of which it is said, no eye has beheld it, meaning it is a kind of illumination that transcends and defies comprehension. So this is the Eden versus Gan Eden. We have Gan Eden means heaven. We call Gan Eden, Garden of Eden. It says in the Genesis, it talks about, it says, "V'nohar yoytze me'Eden lahashkes es hagan." There is a river coming out of Eden and to water the garden. So heaven is called Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. So Eden, what is Eden, and what is the river, and what is the Garden of Eden? The Eden represents the Chochma, that which is beyond seeing, beyond comprehension. And there's the river coming out that represents the Bina. Bina is the development and bringing down the Eden. And where does it manifest? Where is it revealed? In Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden. That is where the neshamas are able to receive their comprehension, each one in their own level. Now the Alter Rebbe goes on to say furthermore, that level of Chochma is also reveals itself and is connected with the very bottom, which is the daughter. The daughter represents the earth, represents also Malchus, kingdom, represents speech. And what he's going to explain now, that there is something that is revealed, that level of Chochma, which is beyond comprehension, in the primordial wisdom, is affecting directly the lowest levels. Where do we see it? Alter Rebbe is going to explain that we see it in the concept of speech, as we shall soon see. So it says, "V'nikra Abba Yosad Bata." Moreover, Chochma is referred to as the father who founded the daughter. And that is based on a verse in the Mishlei, in Proverbs. It says, Hashem b'chochma yosad eretz. Hashem, with wisdom, created earth. Koinen shamayim b'tevuna. And he created heaven with tevuna, with understanding. Now, which one is higher? Chochma is higher than Bina, as we just explained. Chochma is the wisdom, there's something which is beyond and above understanding. He founded the earth with Chochma. And Koinen shamayim, and he founded the heaven with Bina, with Tvuna. You would think the other way around. You would think the heaven, the godly revelation, spiritual revelation, is closer connected to the Chochma, the higher level. So he says no, because Bina is about revelation, understanding, development. That is done in the spiritual world. In this physical world, in the lowest place, the Chochma is effective. The Chochma affects this lowest level of Malchus. And as I'm going to explain how we see an example of it, the way we see it in speech. When you speak, there is things that there is sound that we make. There is words that we utter, and the words that we utter come from 5 different sources of articulation, the organs of articulation. You have the lips, you have the tongue, you have the palate, and so on, teeth. And the question is, how does the words come out? Do you actually train when you sit down with a child to teach him how to say words? Do you tell the child, hey, you have to move now your lips this way to utter the letter Aleph, and you have to change the move, and you have to put the tongue on top to be able to make the letter Lamed, and so on? You don't do that. It is done subconsciously. There is the essence of the soul, the Chochma, that affects the speech automatically in a way that it directed that it comes from beyond understanding. It's not something that you practice. Says the Alter Rebbe, Pirush ki ine isavos oisis adibur hayotzis meheim oimoitzeres hapeh einam davar muskel. This means the formation of the letters of speech, which proceed from the 5 organs of articulation, is not an intellectual process. It's not something that intellectually you develop. On the other end, it's also not a natural thing. There's a natural sound that comes, let's say, there is the bird chirps, and there's a sheep that has different sounds. A cow that makes different sounds. That's a natural thing in them. Articulating the words are not natural, and they're not something that intellectually you're doing. It is also not inherent in the nature of these organs that they must pronounce the letters by means of the breath and the sounds that strikes them, by either a natural faculty or by an intellectual faculty. For example, it says, one of the organs of articulations is the lips. What letters comes from the lips? Beis, Vav, Mem, Pei, Yoitzas Mehem. With the lips, for example, by means of which the letters Bet, Vav, Mem, and Pei are uttered. So now, Ein HaTeva v'lo yaseichel noisen leyetzias mifto arba chelke shinui bituy ois yisel al pi shinui atnos asvasai. Neither nature nor the intellect compels the utterance of the 4 varying types of pronunciation of these letters in accordance with variations in the movement of the lips. It's not that you have intellectually saying, okay, now there is the letter Bet, move it this way, the letter Vav, move it that way. It doesn't happen that. And it's also not a natural thing. Which are moved by the same breath and the same sound that strikes them equally. Where does it come from? Says the Alter Rebbe, these things, they come as a result of an inner desire from the soul to speak. And the lips move automatically by the desire of the essence, of the inner essence of the soul, the will of the soul. Ve'adrabah, shinui atnuis shebesvasayim ulefi shinui bitu yoisi yois shebetzoyna nefesh levate besvasayim kirtzoyna. On the contrary, the change in the movement of the lips depends on the difference in the pronunciation of the letters the soul wishes to utter by means of the lips. So in the soul there is a subtle types of letters, and that has a desire to say those letters, and that's how it comes out. When it desires to pronounce the letters Bet or Vav or Mem or Pei, and the lips will intrinsically and spontaneously move accordingly. It is not the other way around, that it is the will of the will and the intention of the soul to make a change in motions of the lips. It's not that you have a desire to move the lips and that's how the letters come out. As they are moving now in the utterance of the letters, of the 4 letters. As it is empirically evident that the soul does not at all intend or know how to intend the change in the motions of the lips, which articulate those distinctions between the various letters. And Alter Rebbe says we can even see it even more when we're talking about the vowels of the letters. When you say a kametz, a patach, so when you say a kametz, you compress the lips. When you say patach, it opens up the lips. This is evident. This is even more evident with the pronunciation of the vowels. For when the soul wishes to utter the kametz vowel, the lips spontaneously become compressed. The word kametz also comes from the word compressing. Patach also means opening. Patach, ah. Befatach, this is, by the way, this is the Ashkenazic pronunciation. Sephardic is a little different. They say both ah, but in the Ashkenazic pronunciation, kametz is o, patach is ah. Patach niftochim as vasayim. With the patach vowels, the lips open of the owner and the owner code. And not at all because of the will of the soul to compress or to open. It's not that the soul wants to open, wants to close. The will of the soul is to utter these letters. And automatically it affects the physical movement of the lips and so on. Said the Alter Rebbe, this is there's no need to go any further into matter which is simple, comprehensible, and intelligible to every intelligent person. Namely, that the pronunciation of letters and vowels transcend the apprehended and comprehended intellect. Where does it come from? But rather, it derives from the hidden intellect and the primordial stage of the intellect, which is in the articulate soul. And Alter Rebbe concludes that this is also, we see it why a baby takes time the baby to start speaking. But there's a certain point that the baby can understand everything what you're telling him, but he cannot articulate. Why is that? He cannot say the words. Because the development of understanding, you can understand. But the words, uttering the words, they come from a much deeper level in your soul, which the babies didn't develop yet. This is why an infant cannot speak even though it understands everything. For speech does not result from the revealed and apprehended intellect, but from the more rarefied, hidden intellect, which in the infant has not yet to be developed. So we thus see that the letters of speech derive from Chochma. This then is the meaning of the father who founded the daughter. Chochma is the father, or the source of the letters of speech, which are called the daughter, or the sphere of Malchus. And so this is what it means that the world to come was created with the letter Yud, and tomorrow we're going to go on to explain this world created with the letter Hey. This is the end of today's shir. Should have, and that's why we're saying also mentions connected with the holiday of 15th day of Av. It is about revelation, the depth, just like in the letters, the speech. It is the essence that is revealed in the bottom. It is also in the 15th day of Av reveals the essence, reveals the blessings, reveals godly revelation that even though in this world we see it concealed through the destruction, but Tu B'Av, Chamisha Asa B'Av, reveals it and brings it out, and maybe merit that this revelation should become right away, immediately, in a full way, with the revelation of Mashiach very soon in the building of the Beis HaMikdash. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you with Hashem tomorrow.